Hey, folks. So I want to go over an article that I found a couple of days ago. And I found it late. I came across it late because this article originally came out on the 21st, I believe. So that's 9 days ago. But it's important and stresses how critical it is that you start prepping right now if you haven't already started. And if you have already started, I think it also stresses how important it is that you double down. You really step up your prepping in the next few months. Um, this article is from Fox 7 Austin, uh, and the title is "The World Has 10-Week Supply of Wheat." Expert tells UN Security Council. This is seismic. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article, but I will read a little bit to you. Sorry about that. I bumped my mic. All right, so uh, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of this town, the city in Ukraine. Uh, yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I will butcher it. Anyway, there's a photo here of a pile of wheat grain, and it says wheat lies piled in a grain warehouse earlier shelled by Russian forces on May 6, 2022, near front lines of the Kherson Oblast, and again that town in Ukraine. Anyway, further down, it says New York. Global food insecurity has reached levels not seen since the financial crisis of 2008, and it is only going to get worse without aggressive intervention, a food insecurity expert told the United Nations Security Council this week. Um, Let me scroll down a little bit more. Russia's invasion of Ukraine did not start a food security crisis, but it did add fuel to a fire that was long burning, said Sarah Minker, CEO of Grow Intelligence, a global company that uses artificial intelligence and public and private data to predict food supply trends. This isn't cyclical, this is seismic, Minker said during a special meeting of the UN Security Council. Even if the war were to end tomorrow, our food security problems isn't going away anytime soon without concerted action. Um, before the Russia-Ukraine conflict began, the two countries supplied a combined 1/3 of the world's wheat exports and were in the top 5 exporters of corn. Coupled with widespread fertilizer shortages, supply chain issues, and record droughts, the world has about 10 weeks worth of wheat on hand, Minker said. Scroll down again because they put humongous pictures on this page and ads. Sarah Minker, founder and chief executive officer of Grow Intelligence Inc., speaks during Bloomberg New Economy Forum in Singapore on Thursday, November 18th, 2021, in that photo. So, without aggressive global actions, we stand the risk of an extraordinary amount of human suffering and economic damage. Okay, so war threatens global food supply. Russia claims that 10,000 plus sanctions the country is facing for its aggression towards Ukraine has disrupted routes, impeded Russian vessels from delivering goods, and restricted commercial transactions because of banking difficulties. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said those claims are false. The decision to weaponize food is Moscow's and Moscow's alone. Now, I'm not going to get into a debate about who's right and wrong here, but we simply need to look at the fact that regardless of who is right and who is wrong, whether the invasion, the Russian aggression in Ukraine, or the U.S. sanctions against Russia for that aggression, regardless of which is at fault of causing disruptions, we have to acknowledge the fact that there are disruptions, there are major shortages, and it all didn't start with Russia and Ukraine. This was going on long before Russia invaded Ukraine. This was going on at the start of the pandemic, even before Biden took office. We were starting to see certain issues, even when Trump was in office, And then when Biden took over, it just exploded. Um, not to say that's not to say as much as I hate Biden, that's not to say it's all on him. It's not all on him. It's all on the governments of the world and the way they locked everything down during the pandemic. And when Biden came in, it got worse, so much worse, because then we started shutting down our oil drilling and locking down a lot of different things that it just compounded an already existing problem and it just snowballed from there. And this is one of those situations where every one of these disasters, every one of these issues that come up, be it the war in Ukraine, uh, lockdowns because of the pandemic, all of this myriad of uh, fires and explosions that seem to be attacking these food processing plants here in the United States and a few even globally. Uh, People slaughtering entire flocks of birds, thousands of chickens because one test for the avian flu. Uh, Now we've got gas shortages because we've shut down oil transfers, we've shut down oil drilling. We're sending our oil overseas while at the same time not drilling more here and begging OPEC to start pumping more, knowing it's not going to happen. Um, this is just every one of these things is adding to an already existing problem. So it's snowballing and it's getting bigger and bigger. And every time another one of these issues comes along, it just adds to the pile. It just keeps building on itself. I'm going to read just a little bit more from this article. Okay, the executive director of the World Food Program said 49 million people in 43 countries are already knocking on famine's door. Beasley recalled that when food prices got out of control in 2007 and 2008, over 40 countries faced political unrest, riots, and protests. We are already seeing riots and protesting taking place as we speak in Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Pakistan, Peru, he said. We've seen destabilizing dynamics already in the Sahel from the Burkina Faso and Mali, Chad. These are only signs of things to come. Beasley urged world leaders to do everything possible to bring the markets to stability because things will get worse. Now, this article goes on and on and on, and I could read the whole thing to you, but that's not what I'm making this video for. The link to that article will be in the description. Here's my point of this video. They are predicting, and I'm going to scroll back up here because I want to read this word for word. World has a 10-week supply of wheat. 10 weeks. 2.5 to 3 months max. 60 to 90 days. Think about that. We're already seeing food riots. We're also already seeing civil unrest. We already know what will happen when people can't access food. When people get hungry, they get desperate and they get violent. They're willing to do whatever it takes to feed themselves and feed their families and feed their children. We know this. This is human nature. If you're not preparing now, I don't know what you're waiting for. If you are prepping now, you really need to step it up. Just about, you can go to the store and in just about every boxed product you find on the shelf is going to contain grains of some kind. Wheat, flour, corn. They are the basics, the foundation of nutrition. Perhaps not ideal nutrition, but they're the foundation of our food products. Let me put it that way. Without wheat, there's no bread. There's a lot of other things that aren't being made. Certain pastas. Um, Wheat is such an integral part of our food supply. It can't be overstated. And again, if you're not prepping now, I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't understand how someone can see everything that's going on, from gas shortages, rising gas prices, particularly rising diesel prices. Diesel right now is $5.19 where I'm at, and that's cheap compared to towns that I've heard about. Parts of the country I've heard about where diesel is reaching $8, $9, $10 a gallon. Diesel is required to move just about all of our food products. Just about anything delivered to a store comes on a diesel truck. So, again, if you can look at all of these things, all of these shortages, and you can look back at the beginning of the pandemic and see the massive shortages, the massive amount of empty shelves, and you can look at prices today and see how much things have increased due to inflation, supply chain disruptions, and lack of supply. I don't understand how anybody can look at those things and not see what's coming. You have to be able to recognize that we're running headlong towards a cliff. And if you don't, you have to be thinking in your head, you have to be intentionally blocking it and intentionally choosing not to see it because you don't want to deal with it and you think the government will step in and save you. I'm afraid to tell you the government is not going to be able to save you. The government cannot feed the world if it doesn't have the food to feed them. They're trying to whitewash a bunch of this. They're trying to smooth things over and downplay it so that there's not a panic. Because they know if there's a panic, people are going to start rioting, they're going to start protesting, violence is going to increase 10 times over minimum. We're already seeing increases in violence. We're already seeing increases of riots. Right now, we have food on the shelves. Food is available. It might not be exactly what you want, and it might not be the price you want to pay, but we have food available. I'm telling you, even if it's expensive, be stocking it up. Fill your freezers. Learn to can a bunch of these foods. Dehydrate them. Freeze dry them. Buy freeze dried foods. Do anything you possibly can. It's going to be critical. You know it's bad if the news media, if mainstream news media is talking about we only have 60 to 70 days worth of wheats for the entire world. You've got to understand how bad it is. This is not something to take lightly, and it's not something to just shrug off. You have got to be storing, stacking, and producing. You can't just store and stack. That'll get you by for a while. But at some point, you have to be producing food. You have to be building relationships with people that produce food and learn to barter with those people. We are so far beyond minor disruptions. All the experts are saying, even if the war ended tomorrow, and even if a lot of the supply chain disruptions were corrected today, we're still looking at 2 years before everything stabilizes and we're back to where we were pre-pandemic. We are headed to a food crisis. Global famine is what we're looking at. And global famine will bring in it will bring in more disease, the risk of more pandemics, and it will also breed more war and conflict. If you look back through history, those three things always go together. One always precedes the other. It doesn't matter. It might be disease comes first. It might be famine comes first. It might be war comes first. But they almost always coincide. One leads to the other. You have to get ready. I hate to spread fear. I know this comes off as fear porn. And I really hate to spread fear. I really do. But you cannot sit at home watching the Kardashians or any other garbage TV show and not understand what's coming and not being actively in the attempt to try to prepare for it. That being said, I'm not one to just talk and tell you what you should be doing, and I'm not doing it myself. I had a 4-day weekend this week. I'm off today because of Memorial Day. I took a vacation day for tomorrow so that I would have a long weekend. I've been spending that weekend going to the flea markets, buying preps. I'm tying up and working in my garden, tying up my tomatoes, tending to my garden this weekend. I've got mint in the dehydrator right now, drying it to put up. Following that, I've got some chives that I'm going to be drying. I've got 3 bags of onions that I'm going to be chopping up and drying. I'm going to be going to the store either this afternoon or tomorrow morning and looking for some deals. I check the reduced meats section every time I go to the grocery store. Why? It might not be the freshest, nicest looking meat out there, but you got to get your deals wherever you can. And while I don't always buy everything, especially if it looks really nasty, but if the meat looks good and it's on sale, you better believe I'm going to grab it. And I'm going to keep my freezer stocked full. And what I can't fit in the freezer, I'm going to can in jars. We have to take this seriously. We have to be actively prepping. If you're not, you're setting yourself up for failure and for suffering. Again, I hate to be one of those doom and gloom spreading the fear, but you have to face the reality where we're at as a country and as a world. What in the world? Hold on, folks. Oh my lord. I don't know if you guys could hear that. uh, I don't know how to describe the sound if you couldn't hear that. Let me give you a little bit of humor to break up the tension in this video. I just saw a woman in a minivan driving down the road pulling something. And she was pulling a riding lawnmower with a rope. There was a guy on the riding lawnmower, and that lawnmower was pulling a trailer, one of those little mower trailers, with what looked like a metal shelf in the back. Okay, so picture this. You've got a minivan connected to a old riding lawnmower that had flat tires that was with a guy on it that was pulling a trailer with a metal shelf. And it was just rattling like I don't know what. I wow. You know what? I laugh at that, but with the way this world's going, the way we're headed towards that cliff, you might see a lot worse than that on the road. Okay, so as I was saying, I think it's obvious to everybody that can look at what's going on all the different issues, I think it's obvious to anybody that can see that what's coming our way. And the bad news is that it seems to be coming faster and faster. And every time we think, okay, it's going to be this long before it happens, things actually happen faster. It's almost like it's happening exponentially. At the same time, it seems like a train wreck that's happening in slow motion. But I'm serious. If you don't see what's going on, if you can't see what's coming our way, there's no hope for you. You're just going to suffer. I hope you don't suffer too bad, but I honestly believe if you don't get ready, you're going to pay the price. That being said, be prepping. If you are prepping, good for you. But you need to be prepping double time. Double down on it. We're running out of time, folks. If you've just started, good for you, but man, you've got some catching up to do. I hope you can make some progress. Do the best you can. Don't get discouraged. And don't let the fear win out. I know this is spreading fear. I understand that. But sometimes you have to look at reality, and reality is unpleasant and it's scary. This is the reality of the world we live in now. Food is no longer really a guarantee. The value of money is no longer a guarantee. So wherever you are along your prepping journey, work as fast as you can, work as hard as you can, get as much done as you possibly can. Don't get discouraged. Just keep at it. Be diligent and work at it. Do something every day. I don't care if it's going out and collecting herbs and drying them, picking apples, drying them, picking blackberries and freezing them. If you only have a small patio, grow a tomato plant, grow a pepper plant, I don't care. Anything, something, do something. It's critical that you get ready for what's coming. I'm doing that now. I'm dehydrating stuff all this weekend. I almost wish I had 2 or 3 dehydrators with everything that I've got to dry, but all I can do is all I can do. And I do have my oven. I do have an air fryer with a dehydrator setting, but the air fryer has limited capacity. Certain herbs like mint, you don't necessarily have to dry in a dehydrator. You can dry them in a cool, dark space. But the offset of that is doing it that way can take a week or two. A dehydrator gets it done in about 3 or 4 hours. So I'm going for speed at this point. And again, folks, just get busy. That's all I got to say. That's all I can say. I'm really worried about what's coming. I've got a few preps, more than most, not as much as some, and I'm worried. I can't imagine starting prepping right now. That's got to be terrifying. And if I'm scaring you, I'm sorry. I do apologize for that. Try not to be scared. Just understand this is coming and you have limited time. Make smart decisions. Make smart purchases. And put back whatever you can. And remember, store what you eat and eat what you store. Rotate it out. Don't be storing things that you're not going to eat. Especially if you're just now starting, don't be storing something you don't normally eat with the thought of trading it. Focus on storing the things that you eat. And if you're just starting out, also don't be worrying about these 25-year shelf life freeze-dried food packets or cans. Don't worry about that. Go to the grocery store, buy canned vegetables, canned pasta, soups, pasta sauce, boxes of noodles, rice, beans, canned meats. If you're just now starting, or if you haven't been prepping very long, that's where you need to be putting your money. Don't go to MREs. Don't go to freeze-dried foods. Those are way too expensive for where you're at in your prepping. You'll get more for your money if you go for what's available on the grocery store shelves. And with that, pick your sales, pick your deals. If you know one place has things cheaper, don't buy it at a more store that has it more expensive just because it's convenient. It might be worth driving 2 or 3 miles to another store to stock up on something a little bit cheaper. These are the days when we have to be very conscious of how we spend our money down to the very last penny. These are the days where we can take lessons from our grandparents and our great-grandparents who lived through the Depression. Don't waste money. Be frugal. Stock up. If you have expenses that you don't really need, if you're subscribed to cable plus 3 or 4 different subscription services, you need to drop one or the other. If you've got a bunch of subscription boxes that you get every month, you might want to consider canceling them. Put that money to more effective uses. Try not to keep all your money in the bank. Keep just enough in the bank to cover your bills. Keep the rest at home. Because if people start panicking and pulling their money out of the banks, they'll shut the banks down. Then you won't be able to get anything. Even though everything is FDIC insured, they can limit how much money you get. They can say, well, we're only going to allow you to draw out $25 at a time. You don't want to be in a situation where you've got $5,000 in the bank, but they only allow you to get 25. Keep only enough in the bank to pay your bills that you pay with over the internet or with your debit card or whatever. Everything else, keep in cash on hand at home. Keep it secure. Consider investing in silver if you have the money to spare. But if you don't have food storage, do not invest in silver. I repeat, if you do not have food storage, do not invest in silver or gold. Food has to come first. Food is security. Food is independence. All right, with that, I've rambled on long enough about this. I appreciate you guys watching. Again, I know this is scary, and I know I'm spreading fear, but I'm urging you to take this in. Don't be afraid. Just be active. Be proactive. Get ready, and the more prepared you are, the less fear you're going to feel, the less you'll react to fear. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. I'll get some more videos out soon. Until next time, folks, take care, stay safe, stay busy, keep prepping, and try not to let the fear get to you. I'll catch you later.